It's the True Penny Show with your host, James Truepenny.
Hello and welcome to the first recorded show of 2026 that you will hear. My name is James Truepenny. This is the Truepenny Show. It is my show. And today we are taking a trip back to Joshi. And two companies one company we haven't looked at much, and another company we genuinely enjoy. And our Wrestle Universe adventurer, Mr. Marcus Green. How are you, sir? Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Doing good. Glad to be back, kicking off the year with some good quality wrestling. You know, like you said, back in the Joshi territory. And yeah, these were two shows. One show in particular was, like you said, more of our chosen affair, and one kind of was an offshoot, but it was still interesting to say the least.
Yes. We're at Shinkaba First Ring to start this particular show off. I will say before I start, though, I did think of you earlier today. I've recorded our first show of the year, which you'll hear next week because of the way things work, on the Noah show from Osaka last week with Ruth. And on that show was Quiet Storm because he's gone back to Noah. That might encourage you to watch more Noah.
Nice.
Yes, he's left late. I think possibly in distress at the end of Bulk Orchestra.
Wow.
Being forced to join Black Generation International. He's back tagging with his old partner Mohammed Yone in Funky Masters 50. That's it. Yeah, he's a happy man. He was good and lumpy as he always is. But let us go indeed to less lumpy things. In fact, some very well, actually, I was going to say ladies, and then there's only one lady in the first match, so we'll start there. The Marvellous show is, for those of you who don't know, is run by Shigesato Nagayo. The full name of the promotion is Marvellous. That's Women's Pro Wrestling. Shigesato Nagayo founded this promotion around about 10 years ago in a second comeback. And it's been a company that's produced some very interesting things and done some incredible wrestling shows. This show is in Shinkaba First Ring. It's basically a house show. It's got a very special main event. And it opens amazingly with Yusuke Santa Maria of Dragon Gate, the Exotico wrestler, going up against American indie wrestler JT Thorne. JT Thorne got a cage match page, and I wasn't able to find out too much about him. He's popular on the West Coast and kind of coming up through the ranks. And Yusuke Santa Maria has been a wrestler for Dragon Gate. She's a former Open the Gate champion. She is a trans wrestler. She presents herself as a woman, and we all obviously respect that. And she has been a regular for Dragon Gate for around about 10 years. She didn't start out she started out in a more kind of traditional mode as a male pro wrestler, and transitioned into being Yoke Santa Maria about a couple of years into her, and she's been massively popular as the Exotico, which is one of the fascinating things about Exoticos is like when we first started doing the Trooping Show history shows, me and Chelsea were talking about it, and Chelsea was like, I really don't know enough about it to talk about it because I really don't want to make offense. And that's the thing here. As Santa Maria, it tends to be presented as babyface in these situations. It's a lot simpler and more straightforward to give an opinion on her. Exoticos traditionally in Mexico were straight men who were pretending to be women and were always healed, which is massively problematic, as you can imagine. Whereas this is not so much. And Santa Maria also helped because she's a fantastic wrestler. And this was a nice kind of bit of opening work match business. It was a bit of a change from your opening Hell for Leather 6-person tag, wasn't it, Marcus?
Yeah, it did come off like one person was more down to business than the other. JT Thorne was trying to get down to it. And Santa Maria wanted to kind of, it took a little while to get her bearings, if you will.
Yeah.
It wanted to, but ended up, if I'm not mistaken, pulling out the win.
Yes, she did.
Kind of fired up at the end, kind of let it be shown that she was not to be played with in that regard. And like I said, it took a little while to get the engine going, but when they did, she pulled out the win. But yeah, Thorne was not in the mood for any of the shenanigans.
Yeah, he's a very good foil. He's back in the States now. We should explain. This show was from November. Probably should have done it during the Christmas run. But I kind of wanted to. We tend to do. Me and Marcus tend to do two shows at once. So this was like a nice way for us to get into Marvellous because Marcus hasn't seen much Marvellous before. So this was an intriguing card to do. Have you any other thoughts on JT Thorne as he heads back to the States to further his career?
I'd like to see him with some different opponents to see what it can get out of him if we're in a straight up like slugfest, if you will. Like I said, I feel like he was more chasing here. Somebody that could really give it to him and you know, have a, as you would say, a proper skirting back and forth. I'd like to see him in that scenario.
Yeah. Santa Maria is far too classy to stoop to such levels. She doesn't need to.
No, she doesn't.
Absolutely not. Next up was a match which was really intriguing to me because it was two veterans. Well, I say veterans, but actually one absolute veteran in
Neo.
Yes, Rico. I was going to say Yaku Nagashima and Nightshade. Nightshade's been a pro for quite some time now. She's a Scot. She's 29 years old. She's been a pro for 12 years. So I suppose, yes, I can quite happily say she's a veteran. Of course, she's 29. She's been a pro for 12 years. They start young in Scotland as well. And Nagashima is a 30-year pro. But yes, she started at 20. She was a member of the Gaia Dojo with Meiko Satomura and Sanoki Kato. So this was absolutely a veterans match, and they were going up against Magenta, Maria, and Rico, who are Marvellous's resident heels. They don't really like anyone on the roster. There aren't really any other kind of proper heels on the Marvellous roster. Maria and Rico make it up. And this was kind of a big dumb wrestling match to start with, to get going, and then it kind of broke down into some more serious business. What did you think of this one, Marcus?
Yeah, what I will say, I didn't wasn't necessarily didn't know what to expect high momentum coming off of that first match. Like I said, they had a bit of shenanigans and kind of fired up late.
Yeah.
But I did like how I felt like things revved up as the call went on, and this match was a good showing of that. Like you said, I thought these ladies did a hell of a job. Nice shade, being dominant as you would expect from someone with her particular stature and build. So yeah, but it did feel like her and Nagashima did have like more chemistry and more experience over the two heels, which I think ended up prevailing in the end. So, but quality tag match, like you said, Maria and Rico kind of like the heels for the promotion. So
Yeah.
they'll still come along. They'll maybe they expand, but yeah, it just only so much you gonna be able to expect because there's partners like down the line on the card that didn't necessarily feel like partners, but here it felt like Nightshade and Nagashima really played off each other's strengths well. And that's ultimately what got them to win here.
I think so. It is like she's a pretty big part of the British wrestling scene. I follow her on Instagram, and she does a lot of like backstage stuff, and really pushes her career. She's obviously, to get picked to go to Japan, you have to be of a very high standard, especially for a company like Marvellous, which has such a high legacy. And Nagashima was, of course, a pick of Chigasawa Nagayo 30 years ago at the start of Gaia. She was, one of the rookie class, and would be the first to turn on Nagayo to join Akira Hokuto and Mayumi Yazaki in Oz Academy, and then turn back to have a babyface run and win the AAW championship in an emotional match I think it was in Yokohama. She's been a mainstay of House Academy for a long while. One of the biggest matches I saw her in was against Ozaki, which was all about what happened in Gaia in 1998. You treated me terribly, and I've always been against you. And that ended up being a hair versus hair match for the House Academy Openweight Championship, which was absolutely brutal. So Nagashima has been and there and done everything. She was once the biggest draw in Joshi. So yeah, and you can see by the amount of streamers she gets even now, she's still making things go and making things work. So it's nice to see her in this environment, especially with these two youngsters who are rising stars in the company for sure. Their character work is exceptionally good. Their in-ring work is very, very good as well. So yeah, but this was kind of big dumb wrestling match, but a fun big dumb wrestling match, which got to some serious points towards the end, which was really cool. Yeah. Referee Tommy as well. Tommy is also a marvelous, as a guy, a veteran as well. She's been reffing for about 30 years too. So yeah, this was a big fun match. I should thoroughly enjoy it. Should we move on to the next one, sir?
Let's do it.
The next one, a person we've seen a lot of, but not in Marvellous necessarily. That was Mio Momono, part of the tag team Momo Banana, which we've seen in Sendai Girls as a perennial Sendai Girls tag team champion, contenders and champions, alongside Yuriki Oka. So they've been on this tag team trip for a while. So this is the first singles match I've ever seen her in. She's wrestling up against Amale from France, an independent worker who's come over to Japan, but she did have a 2-year stunt in the WWE development system. She's been a single wrestler since 2012. Nickname's the French Pope, Amali Winchester. Do you see her in a WWF run, Marcus? I don't watch WWE. You have to tell me these things.
Yes, you choose wisdom and not violence to yourself. No, I don't recall her, but I immediately took a liking to her hair. She
Yeah.
was in developmental. Maybe she didn't get called up. It's funny how things tend to go there. Sometimes they'll have somebody who's been on the independent scene for years, never even get yet called up to NXT proper. So, but she clearly can go. And I feel like this is what business definitely picked up on this card here for me with these two.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of like with me and Momono, you kind of get like, she's the bubbly, cute girl who wears the yellow and has the fun theme tune, and she tags with all the fans when she comes to the ring, and she's got all the fur, and it's lovely and nice, and she's smiley, and then she punches you in the face.
Yeah.
And that's such a wonderful anachronism of like, it's she's such a baby face, but she's also just absolutely so stiff and so tough. And also, like this match, Christy would like this match purely because it's one very tall person against one reasonably short person. It's kind of like it's her perfect comedy combination. I will have to send her it later and see what she thinks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, this is what business picked up for me because Amale really thought she was going. She came out the gate with the bully tactics, and it just motivated Momono to give as good, if not better, than what she did. And she was just like, "Oh, okay, you want to play big girl? I'm gonna break you down. I'm gonna go at every last one of your branches." And with these submissions, and she broke. She got at her on her limbs until she broke her finally, and I appreciated that. But like I said, I think business picked up here for me because they really pushed each other, and particularly Amale, really pushed Momono. I think to just have it. They both had just a hell of a match. So hopefully these two can run it back. But yeah, this was a good piece of business between these two.
Absolutely. I think it's fine. We find it interesting because me and Christy were discussing this as well on about AJPW stuff. How the WWE developmental system seems to be providing All Japan Pro Wrestling and now Joshi with a number of exemplary professional wrestlers that they passed on, and you're like, what was wrong with these guys? They're really good. And Amali is now added to that list, I feel.
Yeah, it's become a thing, particularly all these years as a TNA fan. Some people just not gonna work out some places. You can appreciate a journeyman and whatnot, but some people just don't fit at certain points, and it's ironic because a lot of guys have been paid been paid the most when they've been probably featured the least. You see that a lot, so it's interesting when people find their creative thriving points, and stuff. But yeah, these two definitely are, real solid workers that they should, definitely, put a lot of work into going forward, with the promotion because they, like I said, these two put on a banger, and at times it felt like it was a number one contenders match. If I didn't know better.
Yeah, it was absolutely that level of intensity. Next up, we had quite the interesting affair. This is a three-way match. Which, again, Marcus is going, oh God, James is going to moan about three-way matches. And I kind of will, but this one made sense in my head. So we had Aya Huzan, Senki Yasukuki, and Sorya Yami, two of whom are marvelous rookies. Ayami is 19 years old. She's been wrestling for a year. We have seen a lot of Senka Atsusuki. She's also 19 years old. She's been wrestling for less than a year. And she today, as we are recording this, became the Sendai Girls Junior Champion in her first championship match. And she's been
Nice.
described as super rookie by most of the major publications this year. Ai Zan has been wrestling for 4 years, so she was a senior in this match. And the match ends up being won by Huzan, as you'd expect over the two younger wrestlers. But that by no means shows off what Atsuki and Ayami were about. That it does not stop you from understanding what's going on with those two because they are very promising talents for this company. Atsuki especially, but watching Ayami, she has so much presence and is such a kind of already a complete package. It does bode well for the Chigusa Nagayo dojo, doesn't it, Marcus?
No, indeed. I was going to ask you because when I saw the red and the blue were very much of the same ilk, I was like, is this the Josie equivalent of the Young Lion?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, generally speaking, Marvellous have worked on. I mean, it works for the other companies as well. Sendai Girls tend to stick with the swimsuit and tights. Marvellous have actually properly made wrestling leotards, which is nice because generally speaking, back in the day, Josh has just got swimsuits and they wore tights, and that was it. Not necessarily that's supportive if you're a larger lady, obviously. But now they're kind of Marvellous is kind of taking business into their own hands as far as presentation is concerned. Yeah, I was discussing that with Ruth earlier because the Noah the young guys don't have black boots and tights. They have color. They get color choices or they get given colors, so it's easy to identify who they are, which is nice. And this is a good example of that, because there's colors here, you do get to pick out the rookies and kind of I'm not sure if they'll keep those colors for the rest of their career, but it's certainly a nice development as far as being able to pick out who is who. I mean, it's different rookie systems in different companies. And it's Marvellous has only got a couple of rookies, and obviously New Japan only ever have a maximum of 4, so it's easier to build identities with them. But the black boots, black tights things, it'd be easier if you could just tell who people were a bit better, and this kind of gives them that angle for sure, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you think? Sorry, go.
Yeah, I was gonna ask her weirdly because sometimes I do feel like the young lions also get the same, and I don't know if this you can tell me if this is a mandate. They also sometimes come out like they got the same haircut as well.
Well, yeah, because the Joshies don't have to shave their heads, but all rookies have to shave their heads to show that they're going into a different cycle of their life. So for at
Yeah,
least the first 3 months, they do all have the same haircut. And then when
yeah.
it's grown back, they're allowed to style it a bit more. Um, and then eventually, when they get good enough, they get given phones and Twitter accounts. Shows your
Yeah.
sign you're progressing, that we're believing in you enough to trust you with a Twitter account. Don't do anything stupid.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that sounds like
Um,
sacrilege in the states. Jesus, like, it's like you get to tell me when I get to be a social parasite. No, but
yeah,
yeah, that's great. It's weird. It's weird being a part of this cast. The word haircut is feels almost too soon. Along with the truth, any listeners knowing coming off of Wrestle Kingdom and everything that happened there. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. This is the thing. Yes. Um, Aaron's wolf hair is growing out nicely, from what I can tell. That's nice. So we have other hair shenanigans after this week's. Is it Dynamite or Collision where Tony Storm challenged Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir to a hair versus hair match with Orange Cassidy in a mixed tag? That's unique. I've not seen that before.
oh wow,
Um, I also believe all four of them wouldn't be that bothered if you shaved their heads, to be honest.
yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing as to who takes the person who gets pinned ends up losing their hair. So yes, that was the rule Tony put together for that one. That's going to be in Australia because obviously, Tony Storm in Australia, she's got to do something special, hasn't she?
Yeah,
To go back to this match, what's your thoughts on this one overall?
no, this was good. I thought it was good. Like I said, it immediately caught me that like I said, I felt like the young lion of it all with the Joshi, and obviously like you said, Huzan he got the win obviously as the more experienced veteran.
Mm,
But yeah, like you said, it's a great showing for the young women they got coming up. Obviously, I feel like they're going to be big down the line, whether they put them together or keep them separate. I just think this was a good showing for them. They're going to continue to get better. Um, I always love to see when people locked in on the fundamentals because a lot of times it just kind of gets thrown to the wayside over here for whatever final reason, even though that's where people start at.
mm,
Um, and yeah, so like I said, I think that like you said, the future's bright.
absolutely. Then we get to the main event featuring people at the other end of the spectrum. This was a tag team match. Azure Revolution, Mayuki and Risa Sera going up against Itsuki Aoki and Takuma Iroha. Iroha is the ace of Marvellous, has been for a long time. She's the current GHC Women's Champion, pardon me, in Noah. Itsuki Aoki is been wrestling for 8 years and kind of a bit of a deathmatch specialist. She's a freelancer, but she works a lot of the time for Stardom. She's a regular member roster there. And the reason why she's in this match more than anything else is because she was in a faction. Yeah, so Itsuki Aoki was in Prominence, which was an independent promotion founded by Itsuki Aoki and various other people, as well as Risa Sera. Risa Sera is currently on her retire. Well, at this particular time, was on her retirement run, so she was making the rounds of all the promotions where she'd worked. She had a long tag team with Mayuki, and wanted to tag with her again. So that was a farewell tag team performance. Aoki is an old friend from Prominence, so she wanted to wrestle her. And Aroha is the biggest name in the company, so this is kind of like a friendly affair, nothing too serious. Say goodbye to your friend who's retiring. Sarah is a 13-year pro. She had a long career working originally for Stardom. It's not Stardom, for Ice Ribbon. She was trained by Kazurani Murakami and Emi Sakura. Sorry, Emma Sakura. I'll get these pronunciations right. She wrestled for Ice Ribbon from 2012 all the way through to 2021. Then became a regular for Wave, Diana, And finally, she's been back at 2AW, Gokipen Pro Wrestling a lot this year, as well as all of the other companies, Pure J, doing the rounds on her retirement run. She had matches in Noah, Freedoms, all sorts of companies last year as she did her retirement rounds. And this match wasn't anything particularly serious, but it did the job of sending Risa Sera off into retirement with one of her best friends, or a couple of her best friends. But having said that, it wasn't light duty either. They did some heavy, heavy stuff in this match. What did you think of this one, Marcus?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Thought it was fun. I'm glad you gave me that backstory because that explains certain instances. Where I'm like, okay, what was that? But then familiarity can sometimes breed shenanigans and not contempt in this scenario
Yes.
anyway. But it did feel like sometimes Aoki was in a match against three other people, or while Aoki and Iroh was on the same team, they were having like separate matches with Azure. So that was interesting to me. That was the most interesting part of it to me. But yeah, again, appreciate the backstory because certain instances that disconnected me from it made more sense. Kind of stop things abruptly because, like you said, ultimately these are friends coming together to send one individual off in a quality way. So that's always cool to see, particularly when
Yeah.
anybody in this performance art gets to go out the way they want to, because you so rarely don't often get to see it as much as you want. So yeah.
Yeah. A 13-year pro with, a heavy legacy deserves to retire when she wants to retire and not before. And she's given us some great entertainment down the years. I've watched a lot of her matches back in the day when I was taking the bus to work and I had 45 minutes and I'd download whatever indie show from Japan had gone up on YouTube that week. And sit and watch it. I saw a lot of Risa Sera matches, and she's been fantastic for Joshi. And we wish her well in her retirement, of course.
Indeed.
What are your first impressions of Marvellous? As like this is probably the first full card I think you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it
What do
was
you think?
interesting. It was interesting. I dig it. I like it. Obviously, the lady behind it, absolute legend. Um,
Hmm.
but it is it's interesting because coming off of that, like I said, like certain instances, obviously, like we talked about before, and a lot of these things, because it's not necessarily nothing you haven't seen before with the moves, so you can kind of make up your own commentary for the stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's hard going from that and then going to Marigold where they do aid you in getting to know the individuals, particularly
Yes.
putting their names on screen. So
Yeah.
outside of that, I like the talent. I like, like you said, they got feel like they got a good healthy mix of serious, non-serious, veteran, up and coming, and yeah, like I think that like you said, they got a good healthy mix um, going. I don't know. Obviously, do they have an expansive roster? This was kind of like the kind of meat and bones.
There's a few more people on that roster, but it's kind of still. I don't think she can still make some ton of money out of the show. I think she does it because she loves pro wrestling.
Yeah,
And there's some big shows, but I don't think they've got much more than what they've got there, really.
gotcha.
Yeah, so that's about it, really. Um, yeah. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. We shall visit
Yeah,
them again, no doubt.
yeah, it'd be good. Like you said, it's another place for these women to work who never disappoint. And that's cool. It's always great to hear about, like you said, so many Joshi legends. Not only coming back to help up become a talent, but creating places for them to work. As
Yeah.
well. So very much appreciate that just in general. So yeah,
Yeah, she had Nagayo. Um, oh, she has a complicated legacy about the way she's treated women wrestlers in the past and various things, but there is no doubt that she loves pro wrestling, and she does her absolute level best to make sure pro wrestlers have a place to work and a place to train, and wants pro wrestling to do well. And otherwise, she wouldn't have gone out of the way to pick people like a Roha to be a race, and she's done the right things in the right ways, and I think been very much a product of its time. It's a lot lower pressure than Gaia was. Gaia was whoa. Gaia was absolutely intense. You only have to look at the people like Hokuto and Ozaki and Seiko Satomura and Nagayo. They could be intense about a bagel. You know,
Yeah,
they're the most intense wrestlers of all time. Whereas Marvelous is a much more three-ring circus, let's have a fun wrestling show approach, and I think that suits the times more appropriately than Gaia, which was fantastic. I love Gaia. Don't get me wrong. Um, but equally, like when you watch old Gaia shows, and every match is like aiming for 5 stars from the opening bell, and everybody's trying to outdo everybody, and everybody's going 55 mile an hour all the time. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's intense. Whereas Marvelous is kind of more of a what Chigusa Nagaya likes in wrestling. She puts guys on the show and she puts exoticos on the show because she likes wrestling and she likes lucha and she wants to have some of that, so she puts some of that on the show. And why not? And it's not as strict a Joshi show as Gaia was. And I think that's important as she's kind of grown into like wrestling should be fun and enjoyable for everyone, which I don't think she was
indeed.
like. She was like that. I think it was like wrestling has to be like this, and this is the way it's always been. This is the way it should be. Marigold kind of has gone back to that high intensity thing. There's certainly the top end of the card, not so much at the bottom of the card, but there's certainly a lot of pressure going on in Marigold. But there's a lot more money at stake in Marigold, I think. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
let us go Marigold, I guess.
yeah. It's also between the money and just the sheer level of talent, that's there as well. Like it's kind of hard not to go there because some of the names that we hear about pass through there are now on the biggest stage in the states. So
Hmm.
that deal.
Yes, indeed. Well, we can go back to the 12th of January. Dream Star fighting Marigold at Korakuen Hall, 708 in attendance, or so 705. Joe opened with Hummingbird defeating Megaton and Negesi Takabana 1 minutes and 45 seconds. This was the absolute definition of a big dumb wrestling match. I got away from it.
Yep.
It was funny. Again,
Yep.
not my particular cup of tea. Well, it's hard to be mad at Megaton, isn't it? She's lovely, isn't she? A wonderful little baby monster now. She's developed so much, and though she constantly loses, I have no problem with that because she's just fun.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
mad at her.
I've yet to watch a match involve Megaton where I wasn't shaking my head, but I wasn't mad while I was doing it. So that's those I've never been mad while I was doing it, which is more than I can say from a lot of stuff that I watched. Uh, not Japanese related. So I can appreciate that. And look, you can't we've sat and watched matches where we've been sweating throughout the whole of it because ended up getting more word for the participants than we were excited as viewers. So something
Yeah.
like this to kick off the show, you gotta appreciate it, and shout out to Hummingbird. She's like she reminds me of, and this is uh how I felt about Sexy Star before she turned into a complete, you know, yeah. So yeah,
Social parasite. I mean, yeah, maybe.
it is.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. No, it was just a fun match. There's not an awful lot else to say about it. Jackie Banner is great as well. Like her too. Hummingbird's fantastic. So this was
Indeed.
kind of the youngsters having a go. There's not a lot else to say about it. If you like fun wrestling, this is the one for you.
Yeah, real quick, is Hummingbird the first person? Because obviously, I think you obviously watched more Marigold than I have. Um, she's the first person I've seen in promotion with a mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far
So
as I know, she's the only masked wrestler in Marigold. Yeah.
yeah. So that's it.
Um, yeah. Obviously, a lot of lucha influence on her, certainly. Next up, we had Arina Yamanaka, 39 years old. She is a 6-year pro, which is kind of goes against the grain of professional wrestlers in Japan who all start at the age of 12. Going against Naomi Ishikawa, who is a 5-year pro. She's 1 years old. She also started late. She was trained by Mio Shirai, that's Io's sister, and Tsukushi, which would suggest a wave kind of upbringing, if you catch my drift. This was an intriguing match because this was kind of like a fairly serious singles match. Um, we've watched Yamanaki before, and we haven't seen Ishikawa much. Yamanaki kind of is, like we said, a late bloomer in the professional wrestling industry. But she's got so much presence, and she kind of like has a lot of range. She's a very different approach to pro wrestling in Marvellous, being so statuesque and kind of so glamorous. Not saying there aren't other glamorous women in Marigold, but a lot of the kind of presence in Marigold is based on wrestling ability and toughness and generally trying to outgun your opponent the old-fashioned way. Whereas Yamanaki kind of, as you know, a fitness instructor and a yoga practitioner, she's kind of got this entirely different kind of
Yeah,
approach to pro wrestling, which
yeah.
fits into this
I'm,
promotion exceptionally well.
yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you because when we first started Marigold, she was still getting the presentation of like she's going to debut before she
Yeah,
debuted. And I was gonna ask, I'm like, was this the young lady who had like the yoga studio?
yeah,
Because
that's the one.
yeah, 'cause she was definitely presenting like regal athleticism, if you will.
Yes,
From
absolutely.
and I think that's a good way that I look at her style because she very much gave a lot of that here. It wasn't just athleticism for just the sake of it. She very much played off into her offense, and she uses her size good. And I think Ishikawa, I think this is probably another one of those matches that uh, Chrissy would have liked in that
Yes.
regard. Yeah, uh, shout out to Chrissy. But yeah, yeah, this was some good stuff. Like I said, I remember her, being presented, but not necessarily having a match yet. So to see her now, I'm like, okay, she definitely has a presence about herself. Very much aware of her body. Like I said, obviously that plays into the athleticism and the yoga and all that. So yeah, she's gonna be one to watch. Not taking away from anything from Ishikawa, but I think Yamanaka's kind of she's working with several tools that she knows how to bring together. I appreciate
I think so. Yeah, you're right. I think as well, and I don't want to be ageist, but I know somebody is, and he owns Marigold. Um,
that.
there's a shelf life for someone who's 39 years old in Marigold, and I don't think that's right. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not agreeing that that's going to happen, but I do know that if you're in Marigold and you're over 30, that isn't necessarily a good thing for you. So the fact that she's 39 and getting wins is
yeah,
remarkable, unless said person has had a change of heart in his old age. Um, so I think, yeah, I think she's got like she's probably got a window of maybe 18 months, and they'll do all they
mm,
can with her in 18 months. And if it hits, she's going to be big.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see how they do that with her.
Same.
Um, they do because I think she's really really good, and in a company that doesn't have like as one group of real heels, her arrogance and her surety in presentation stand out. Like
Yeah,
she's clearly doing things for entertainment's sake. Like her elbow drop is ridiculous.
yeah,
um, so it's like she stands out compared to the rest of the crew who are pretty much more or less straight wrestlers. So I think
absolutely.
that's going to be really going to help her in the long run, especially as far as like developing her skills are concerned. Because she's not crisp and she's not like um, you know Zack Sabre Jr. perfection. She gets the job done, and I think she really shows off what she's capable of.
Yeah, and you adding that that age piece also I think is an interesting piece too because she may very much be aware of that
Yeah,
and going like if I try to do this like everybody else is gonna make me more expendable because they got everything in those guys and they're smaller and they're younger. Like I
yeah,
have to stand out a different way. So
yeah,
because that would actually make her expendable, more expendable. She was just trying to do everything like everybody else, but with far less of the training and none of that natural just I probably that offense that's like I probably should be wearing a mouthpiece, but I'm not. type that the Marigold crew tends to do. So yeah, she's gonna be like you said, if she God willing she stays healthy and they pull the trigger on her, I think she could do some really good stuff. And like you said, hopefully certain individuals adjust their mindsets in that regard.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'll tell you a story off air that won't get me sued. Anyway,
Yeah.
Maya Sakura was the next match. She defeated Rhea Sato in a singles match. There's kind of a heavy singles match presence on this card. There was a lot of matches on this card for how long was this show? This show was, I'm looking at my video here, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they spaced things out nicely. This was one of the better matches on the card. 6.98 from the cage match users. I like Rhea Sato a lot. I think she's got an awful lot of presence as well. And I think turning
She,
her heel again was a very sensible maneuver because she's one of the few natural heels on this roster.
yeah.
And like, you know, even if you just saw her in a sweatsuit and a hoodie, you go, you should be a bad guy wrestler.
Yeah.
She's just got that level of presence about her.
Absolutely.
On the flip side of that is, of course, that Sakura is kind of, the absolute perfect stoic babyface. She's a 5-year pro. She's 35 years old. Trained, I think, during the Stardom years. Yes, I think so. No, she trained in Act 2 Wrestling Girls and then moved to Stardom later in her career. So she's a Yumiki Hotta trainee, I would suggest, which kind of like explains the kick-heavy offense and the level of stiffness that she brings, which I would agree is good and it's nice to see. But this was a very good wrestling match and set the tone for this card as like business was about to pick up. Now, Sato, like on seniority, probably wasn't going to win this match, but it certainly like is a learning experience for her. She is definitely not as experienced. She has been wrestling for 2 years and has presence that belies her age and her experience. But this was starting to get some pressure into this show. What did you think of this one, Marcus?
Yeah. This is what business picked up for me.
Yeah,
Really, because it's and like you said, and shout out to commentary because the added backstories, particularly with the um faction joining the faction and defecting or heel and face runs of it all, particularly with gaining and losing titles, really help kind of set the stage for certain senses of urgency with the matches. So obviously, like you said, Maya Sakurai is basically she's been places Sato is trying to get to.
yeah,
And they have their own little thing going back and forth. But even though she doesn't have the experience, like it's like we got through talking about with Yamanaka, Sato stands out. I know she's a part of Darkest Revolution and just other individuals in there that kind of almost could put her to the background. But see, she keeps up like this. She's gonna make it very hard for them not to do something with her this year in a solo capacity in
yeah,
terms of a title. She has that moxie. She's got that grit. Her offense is really good. And she really just lost the experience. But like I said, she keeps going like this, and she is going to be a problem. The last time I watched Marigold, she was killing it in a tag team, and she stood out then. So yeah, she's definitely also going to be one to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with her as well.
absolutely, definitely. There's some street fight elements in this match. It's a well-rounded wrestling match. There's plenty of stuff for you to enjoy, and it's kind of a contenders match. It's people trying to build up their careers or kick off their year on a strong point, and it's a nice story to tell and really told
Yeah,
very well. You're right about the commentary from Sonny Gutierrez, who's front office video production manager for Marigold, and of course our buddy Stu Fulton,
yep,
general Wrestle Universe English commentator for Noah and for Marigold as well. Um, yeah, there's some nice spots like the Sato bringing out a belt. It's like, why did the referee see that belt that she was wearing around her shorts and check if it was removable or not? Marigold referees need to sort themselves out. Anyway, shall we move on?
We shall.
Indeed. So next up was a tag team match that pitted Yuki Yamazaki and Sura Yamaoka against Kazumi Tanaka and Kimono Minami. 9 minutes and 51 seconds. This one was pretty back and forth. It's kind of one of the things of Joshi is tag team wrestling is always going to be fairly red hot. So basically, I think because they just do so much of it. So Seri Yamaoka is another top line rookie. We have so many good rookies this year, and Yuki Yamazaki is her tag team partner in this match. She is a 18-year-old who has had less than 1 year experience. So she is an original from the Marigold Dojo. Tanaka has been wrestling for 2 years, and Minami has been wrestling for 1 year. So this is literally a bunch of people from some of the hottest rookies in Japanese wrestling at the moment that are around in the Marigold universe, and this is really a strong showcase for them. And when you look at the amount of time they've been wrestling, which is less than 5 years combined between them, this match is a remarkable effort considering those limitations, and shows you how what's the word I'm looking for? How much belief Marigold have in these young stars, and most specifically Yamaoka, who has had some. She's already been a tag team champion in Marigold, and she has become like, um, how can I put it? She's very much being channeled as the second coming of Joshi. She could be the future star, and it brings in so many like parts of Joshi history in this particular context. So this is really an interesting growth match. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, if the last one match felt like a contenders match, this one felt like a title match.
Yeah.
And that again speaks to what you said about just showcasing those rookies who a lot of times in these scenarios, and it never gets old. Us watching Joshi and the young lady looks a certain age, and you tell me something like they're wrestling. They started wrestling like the day they learned how to walk, and then and then they're something years old, but they had this type of experience, and then they're death match master and all that stuff. Yeah, like we talked about, the kind of seriousness that's in Marigold. But look at what if these are the rookies. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like that
yeah,
shows you the depth of the roster. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus, who got the titles if these are the rookies? You know what I'm saying? So that
yeah,
you gotta appreciate that because a lot of they have a really great problem of having nothing but quality up and down the card, and that we don't necessarily see that everywhere. Not even sometimes in Japan. So you gotta appreciate it. This was some good stuff all the way around. These ladies never take their foot off the gas, and I appreciate that. So yeah, this was some good stuff.
yeah. I mean, just to highlight how the year Yamoka had last year, she retired from amateur wrestling to turn pro at the beginning of last year. She was already Marigold Twin Star champion. She won the Twin Star Cup, the tag team tournament last year. She was Rookie of the Year, the Marigold Year End Award. She was the Shine Award winner of the year, and she ranked 156 in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated top 250 women wrestlers in the year. After a year, let's see how good she is in 5 years' time. But she'll be running the show in 5 years' time at this current rate of attrition. So yeah, but this was so much fun to watch, and they are. I mean, this is the thing: is like in the old days. In the old days, I sound like a very old man, which I am. In the old days, you put this match on first. They go for hell for leather, and it lasts 5 minutes. But now, because they're so good, this is third from the end. It's 9 minutes 51. They've got time to develop, they've got time to show off their ideas, and they're being showcased as the future stars of the company. They're doing things that other rookie wrestlers can't do. because they just can't do it.
Yeah.
There's a crossover of lucha. There's a crossover of submissions, of amateur, of kind of what ground and pound wrestling. This and not so much street fighting with these four baby faces, but you know that they're capable of everything in the toolbox at such a young age, and that's what makes Marigold one of the most exciting companies going at the moment, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Anything else you would like to add?
That's it for me.
Okay, then. So we next go to a bit more character work, really, but also a still great wrestling match. Darkness Revolution, Chiaki, Missy Matsui, and Nagisi Nazaka go up against Chika Goto, Natsumi Shiwazuki, and Shoka Kushina, 14 minutes and 7 seconds. The heel crew take out the victory. It's showing more signs to Darkness Revolution. They're not all about cheating to win constantly. Their ability is far outshines that. They want to get the job done in as stylish a fashion as they possibly can. Chiaka is currently looking at her titles. She's carrying a belt, I can't remember. She is the current twin star of Marigold champion with Mises Matsui, and she's a former Marigold twin star champion with Nozaki. So all three of these women have been twin star Marigold champions. And Chiaki is a 4-year pro. Matsuri is a 7-year pro, and Mizaki is a. Well, she's 19 years old. There's no list of how long she's been wrestling, so let me just do a check on that. She's 30. No, sorry, she's 19-year pro. She isn't 19 years old. She's a 19-year pro. She's 35. So she's literally been wrestling over half her life from the age of 16. And that's the thing, is like you just said, we sometimes just don't tell how old people are because you just don't. They all look so young and they're all so talented. But this is more like a traditional tag team match, if this is kind of your thing. This is very much down to heels and faces and good old fashioned kind of 6-woman tag match that you would find in Memphis in the 80s, if they allowed women to wrestle in Memphis in the 80s. Not that often. This is the answer to that question. What do you think of this one, Marcus?
Banger, it took me back to the Gleat, how they end the thing with the babyface faction versus the heel faction in the show.
Yeah.
And me, as much as I appreciate the talent level, can't root for Darkest Revolution because I inherently have to root for all Gotos. This is where we are. What can I say? But yeah.
So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you got to, thankfully I've not yet been disappointed in the Goto. I'm gonna leave a little room to be corrected in the future, because you never know. I've been surprised with Japanese wrestling before. But yeah, this was just some quality stuff. Darkest Revolution, like you said, very much kind of reminded me of Bork Orchestra in the way of, like, yeah, we can cheat and we can start off on the outside, throwing you into every chair in the building or hitting you with every chair in the building. But we literally have the talent level to just go against anybody and dominate. And this was good stuff. Also telling the story of needing to get the win coming off of, unfortunately, Sato's loss early in the show. So very much, and to her credit, wanting to do that alone, which maybe was not the directive that was wanted, but she has ambitions on singles ambitions herself, so she wanted to get that done by herself. So like you said, this was a story driven match, and I very much appreciated it.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, and I mean, obviously the baby faces as well, Shizuki and Kishino. Goto is a 3-year pro. She is straight up Marigold. Shizuki is a 14-year pro. She started off her career in World Wondering Stardom, had a couple of years, took some time off, then came back to Act Pro Wrestling, and eventually came back to Marigold to be reunited with Tsugawa. So she's one of the original Stardom crew. Kushino is 37 years old. She's a 3-year pro. And this is the thing is like we talk about the youngsters all the time. Kushino started off her career in Dotun. Well, she started off her career as an independent on freelance shows and Dotonbori wrestling before going on to Stardom in 2025. We talk about a lot about the youngsters, but also there doesn't seem to be much of like in the middle. And then I've realized why is because a lot of them work for American promotions now. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of. You've got people who are in the late 30s, mid 30s, and then you've got a lot of people in their late teens, early 20s, and there seems to be like this void. But then again, we haven't got to the main event, and they're kind of the people in their prime. But you see what I mean? It's like Marigold is taking chance on older wrestlers, and maybe I am premature in suggesting otherwise. But also, Marigold has kind of like Stardom's the big company. They get the cream of the crop when it comes to recruitment, and the other companies have got feelers out in different organizations for a long time. So they haven't necessarily got access to the top of the crop in the roster stakes. Having said that, they've got a phenomenal roster. So I found this an intriguing kind of mix in Marigold of veterans and youngsters. And this match kind of like defines that really, because you've got one team that is distinctly more experienced than the other team in age groups. But yeah, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I just appreciate it because, like you said, it very much could be the other way around. They could just have a lot of names that are just kind of mid, but they
Yeah,
don't. And different age ranges, different experiences, and they all kind of blend together and come together and really tell some good story. Obviously, because one thing you're not going to have to worry about with Marigold is the in ring. So
no,
I think it says a lot about their trust in their talent. To your point that they don't look at something like Stardom, who, like you said, get all the premier talent, but you almost appreciate seeing it be built. Um,
mm,
Almost from the ground up more looking at something like Marigold because you literally see the progress. Like I said, it's gonna be hard to look at somebody like Sato and say a year or two and not see her either heavily in title contention or outright with a title. So and that goes for several other names that we just talked about. So as long as they keep their eye on their own race, they ain't no need to merge lanes.
So then we get to the main event, and we are talking some heavy duty business as far as Marigold is concerned. On one side, the former Marigold heavyweight champion Utami Hayashita. I always get that name wrong. Tagging with the current champion Mika Iono. I was wrong. Takumi Iroha is not the current Global Under Crown Women's Champion. The current Global Under Crown Women's Champion is the legend herself, Miyu Iwatani. And Victoria Yuzuki, one of Iwatani's proteges from the Stardom days, now firmly ensconced in the main event in Marigold. This was where business was absolutely a go-go. And this match was 28 minutes and 24 seconds. Now, we are big supporters of tag team wrestling on the True Penny Show, and we have seen some damn fine tag team matches this year already. We're 1 month in, but already we kicked off this year at New Year's Dash with TMDK versus the Knockout Bros, tearing the house down in one of the best tag team matches we've seen this decade. And this is another tag team match that really absolutely tore Korakuen up. The 4 best wrestlers in the company, arguably going hell for leather. No championships on the line, but bragging rights and status is the issue. And that's really what we were about in this match. They are all friends in the story. It's all about pressure. And that's where things are going to get, because we're at some serious international business when you've got people like Miyu Iwatani going back to Marigold and taking that Global on the Crown Championship to hopefully to raise it to new levels for Noah and for Marigold. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus? Because this was something a bit special.
Absolute banger. And another shout out to Marigold and props to them for really knowing how to lay out and pace their cards too, because they could have do their proverbial load early and put these spread these 4 out sporadically early in the show, but they saved it for the end. And I thought that was a great build. Like I said, we were talking about rookies. Um, some more experienced individuals, but like you said, they saved all the vets for the end, held leather. Everybody looked like a champion, either is or have been a champion. And they just, like you said, all friends, but all, very much needing the bragging rights. No day, no night off. We don't do that here. It's gonna feel like there's a title on the line, and there's not. And yeah, you see, like you said, Stardom may get the biggest talent, but I feel like Marigold may have the best when you
Yeah,
see
they
stuff
have.
like this. You know.
I think I think having watched a couple of Stardom shows this year, I think the balance point is the main event in Stardom is fantastic, and
Yeah.
the opening's fantastic, and they've got to sort out their middle ground a little bit. But having said that, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're filling out Sumo Hall with 5,000 people.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
equally, that puts an awful lot of weight on the top of that card, and they are top heavy. They've got Siru and they've got um, all of these people who are absolutely phenomenal wrestlers and becoming massive draws. And their dream is the Tokyo Dome, and I have no doubt they will headline the Tokyo Dome at some point if they keep on this trajectory within the next 2 years. Marigold's a different story because obviously they start without the same level of support. They're not backed by a major corporation like Stardom is, so they don't have that seed money that you kind of need to make a professional wrestling organization work. So yeah, I think you're right. Marigold has kind of like got more strength in depth. But
Yeah.
when you've got a main event roster that's this good, you're going to fill houses, and you are going to fill houses over and over again. And it's amazing that like of the wrestling companies in Japan, Stardom's the second biggest company. Marigold aren't far behind. And that puts pressure on Noah and puts pressure on DDT to get the job done. It's like all of a sudden there is, 5 major players in Japanese professional wrestling. And even a couple of years ago, we were talking about one. DDT have ambitions of going to the Tokyo Dome and probably will. Noah have ambitions of keeping that Budokan date open every year and filling it to the brim every year. And they're doing it. The wrestling business is in a good stint so far in Japan this year, and I hope it remains and lasts. But yeah, Marigold is standing out for just pure consistency on their shows.
Yeah. And God bless them. I wish that was the conversation we was having in the States. Not so much. Uh, but yeah, man, it's and it's about time, like you said. I mean, the Joshi is putting pressure on, the standard traditional organizations to get their stuff together and push past, because these women are not um second fiddle to anybody. They're putting on better matches than the men in some cases. So, like I said, kudos to them, and that's gonna be the key for Marigold, just consistency. They got the quality, they just gotta stay consistent. And I see no signs of them slowing down with that quality or consistency anytime soon.
This is the thing, and it's like Tokyo Joshi Sports Pro Wrestler of the Year MVP was Saya Kamatani from World Wandering Stardom. And I tell you why I know pressure is getting to the guys a little bit. I think we discussed this with Christy, and it annoyed me then. As much as I love the Thunder God Jushin Liger, the fact that he came out in his blog and said, well, maybe we should have a separate award for the women, shows you how worried men's wrestlers are about Joshi and his popularity rising at the moment. And yeah, and it's like, well, I'm sorry, Jushin Liger. I've been a fan of yours for 30 odd years. However, I will point out that you didn't say this when you were the top draw in the New Japan Junior Heavyweight division, and had something you could have said about it then to make it so that women had an opportunity to win that award. But they didn't. They didn't win that award from 1974 until 2004. So literally for 40 years, women did not win. 50 years, actually. Yeah, 50 years. No woman ever won that award. And now they have. They should have a separate column. Nah, I think we're good where we are. Thank you very much. Anyway, my apologies for a minor rant. Let's finish on a positive note. Your thoughts of this Marigold show and your 2 Joshi experiences from Wrestle Universe at this moment in time, sir?
Never disappointed in a Marigold show. Appreciate the Marvellous. Looking forward to seeing some more stuff from them. Like you said, not a lot. But what they do have, they make it work, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I've never been disappointed in Marigold. Won't see myself in the future getting disappointed because they got everything, including, and they don't necessarily have to do, but I'm thankful they do English commentary,
There you go.
which is the cherry on top of a very, very rich Sunday. So, yeah, two more banger shows. I always appreciate talking about, Joshi wrestling, particularly with the emphasis on the tag team stuff. We love tag team wrestling. It's two penny shows. Everybody's well. So yeah, just looking forward getting more stuff because it looks like Marigold's going to have a very big year.
Yes, absolutely. As we are at the Troopany Show. The Troopany Show is expanding as it always does. We will have the Wrestling Rewind back. Dara has a new tag team partner to commentate with. He will be joining us on Wednesdays. He's just sent me 10 episodes to print out to you. We're a little bit behind, but we will keep going with our weekly Wrestling Rewind updates as best we can until we caught up. On Fridays, we have the re-release, the Troopany Show re-release. This week's Troopany Show re-release, because I posted it this morning, is the FMW. I'm going to make sure YouTube channel just before I go and make a fool of myself by pretending announcing a show that's going to happen this week and completely forgetting about it. Where are we? View content. With you in a second, kids. This week's show will be yes, it will be the FMW first anniversary show with myself and Chelsea Spollen back in the day. I hope you enjoyed that show. And yeah, and then we'll be back next Monday. Next Monday, we'll be looking at Pro Wrestling Noah from Osaka with Ruth. And we kind of have plotted ahead and we have an idea of what we're doing this year. I don't remember what it is now, but that should get you going for the next 2 weeks. We hope you have a lovely 2026. We hope you've enjoyed the Troopany Show. I realize it's the 2nd of February before we've done a first live recording, but I feel energized and have thoroughly enjoyed my professional wrestling this weekend because I haven't watched professional wrestling for 3 weeks and have let my brain rest after a long, arduous Christmas of pro wrestling watching. It was so much fun, but you kind of let it go once in a while. There are other things to do in the world. Where can we find you on the internet, Marcus?
Yeah, I love that for you, by the way. If anybody deserves a break from wrestling, is James Troopany. So I'm glad you got a chance to get that and get refreshed. Yeah, you can find me on on Twitter watching the world burn on this side of things with everybody else. Yeah, at Paradox Kid, that's PARADOXKID. Pray for the states, will you? Yeah.
We try, Marcus. We absolutely do try. I was arguing with someone earlier today about from the internet who may have indeed been from the United States of America, complaining that Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine probably isn't that left wing and is only doing it for the money. A man who graduated Harvard and doesn't know anything about politics or immigration. So the son of a former Kenyan ambassador to the United States of America doesn't know anything about immigration or politics, despite the fact he graduated Harvard with a social studies major in political science, and he's only doing it for fun. Having 20 years ago won the Ellen Roosevelt Award for his services to humanitarian causes, but he's only in it for the money.
Yeah, the amount of people that are exposing themselves for being nothing but shiesty, just piss poor grifters.
Yeah.
But leaving no doubt of not only their piss poor intentions, but their intelligence level is insane.
Yeah.
It's like somebody sent out a memo, and it's just bad.
It is, because it is just, and the reason why he doesn't get it is because he doesn't get empathy for other people or wanting to look after your neighbors or look after your community and other people's communities because people care about other people other than themselves, which is the reason why he doesn't get that, Tom Morello might have an agenda other than for himself. But there we are.
Yeah, which you would think would be the opposite, because a lot of those individuals used to be those individuals that they don't seem to all of a sudden care about. But
Yeah. Which machine do you think he was raging against, sir?
oh man,
Yeah. It's just like, yeah, the kind of people who think Jesus was just showing off. It does, yeah. Beggars belief what people will say out loud in this day and age, to be honest with you. But there you go. On a positive note, I will say this: the Texas Ninth. Now, Marcus will understand how conservative the Texas Ninth is. How conservative is the Texas Ninth, Marcus?
no, that's Jesus Christ, Texas
Yeah,
ninth.
exactly.
That literally sounds like something. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
and
there was a there
no,
was a there was a special election, the Texas Ninth State Senate seat. It was run by a Democrat by 14 points. There has not been a Democrat return to that seat in 40 years. So there is always hope.
oh yeah, these midterms gonna look like gonna look like a Saturday Night Live skit going completely the other way.
Yeah.
The way the people are being pissed off. It's only so long you can play around with people's lives and livelihoods and try to break spirits before too long, and you start
Yeah.
getting revolts in a lot of different ways. So yeah, a lot of the interesting things gonna be happening in Texas. Um, got a lady named Jasmine Crockett that's going for a congressional seat in that regard. So I'm looking forward to seeing how a lot of this stuff gets flipped, because there's a level of arrogance that's happening with no rhyme or reason to see consequences, and I think those consequences may very well be on their way. And that is
Yeah.
just, I think, a small but very definitive example of it.
The thing is, when you fill your White House with yes men and women, then it comes to the point where, well, how can people disagree with us? We must be right because so many of us are saying we are right. And when actually it's like they've just trapped themselves off in a bubble and they aren't seeing the reality of the situation or how it's affecting people's lives and livelihoods. And yeah, but this is a wrestling podcast. And we probably will leave it on that happy note of the Texas Ninth. And we'll see you next week, where we'll probably still talk about politics because, wow, what else is there to talk about right now?
Yeah. Stay warm, folks. Stay warm.
Stay warm, stay safe. If you're in Australia, stay cool. It's summer down there. If you're in New Zealand, stay cool. Take care around the world, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.